Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses, and this is The Wisdom Tree by Emma Hawkridge, an article taken from Rosicrucian Digest, Volume 24, Number 4, May 1946. The Wisdom Tree by Emma Hawkridge, Houghton Mifflin Co., 1945, illustrated with photographs, line drawings by Theresa Garrett Eliot. This is a book for persons with orderly minds who appreciate reading what others with orderly minds have written. It's a book which will, in all likelihood, become a constant companion through the years to those who respond to thought-provoking ideas and who seek always to understand the inner significance of things. It is a book which begins with seeds of magic and wonder planted in primitive and savage minds, and which traces the growth and development of those seeds first into saplings and then into mature trees bearing fruit each after its own kind all over the earth. Fruit, which in this instance we call religious ideas and practices. In the last chapter, Reflections, which many will want to read first, Mrs. Hawkridge writes, "A view of the religions of the world all at once, visualized as a whole, coming from most remote ages of cavemen and other times that we do not know, spreading through the life of all the men and women and children of the earth, is a breathtaking spectacle." So it is, especially as Mrs. Hawkridge has set it forth in The Wisdom Tree. There are 3 parts or divisions to the book. The first, called Primitive Patterns, and dealing with 3 fundamental studies which become chapter headings: magic making, the animal gods, and the marriage and death of the god. The other 2 parts of the book are concerned with the application and elaboration of these fundamental things, first in the Western world and then in the Eastern world. If the first of these latter divisions interests us slightly more than the other, it is only because we see in it more immediate steps through which orthodox religious ideas of today have come to us in orderly progression from the Sumerians, Egyptians, Persians, Hebrews, Greeks, and early Christians. There is much in this book that is history and sociology as well as ethics and religion. There is much that recalls Sir James Fraser's The Golden Bough and L. Adams Beck's The Story of Oriental Philosophy. One senses throughout the impartiality of the true scholar as well as the enthusiasm and warmth of the humanist Dr. Holmes in The Autocrat of the Breakfast Table wrote, "The great minds are those with a wide span which couple truths related to but far removed from each other." One would like to cite examples, but that would mean almost a page-by-page quotation. So rich is this book in its evidence of such a mind at work. There is evidence, too, of a large understanding which constantly brings whole processes of thinking and action into focus with a sentence. As, for instance, when speaking of the vague power which for the savage lurked in every object of nature, and which called for his worship. What a man's eyes saw was not so important to him as what his imagination realized. Or again, in explaining the purpose of primitive magic. Magic was a balloon that lifted man until by accident he ran sideways into civilization. Or yet again, in setting forth the transition from the idea of woman to that of himself as the producer of seed. Man, realizing himself instead of animal or woman as creator of life, began to make God in his own image. In a work such as this, it is only natural that some readers will be drawn inevitably to certain sections more than to others, that their ideas will be accepted only with reluctance, if at all, that the strictly orthodox will bridle a little at the nearness of many modern religious teachings and practices to the primitive thought from which they sprang. In each case, however, such reactions will be more of a judgment of the readers than of the author. The author has accomplished her task admirably and has made a genuine contribution to what has already been written on the subject. The value and pleasure one will have in the book have been noticeably enhanced by the line drawings contributed by Theresa Garrett Eliot. The photographs, too, have been successfully used to exhibit the similarity of ideas among peoples and places widely separated in distance and thought. The book is completely indexed and contains an excellent fold-up chart. Whatever the result of the impact of Mrs. Hawkridge's findings upon the individual reader, it is certain that all will agree with her thought taken from the Buddha Karita, that wisdom tree whose roots strike deep into stability, whose flowers are moral acts, which bears righteousness as its fruits, ought not to be felled. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment. And if you can please consider donating to Wars of the Roses, links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.